the sports industry at the level where I'm investing in and building a business to the mining industry. The mining industry is full of cowboys, full of huge opportunities to make a lot of money and huge opportunities to lose a lot of money.
All right, here we go, Jonathan. This is another episode of the Constant Sports Podcast. We're excited to dive into the world, the global industry that is of paddle, pickleball, all the good stuff, the racket sports, and especially with your background in business and finance, and now growing this whole ecosystem in of itself. So thanks for joining us today, Jonathan.
Thanks very much for having me, Connor. Looking forward to the chat.
Yeah, for sure. And I guess just kind of an underlying theme here is kind of with your background in banking and business, and then now kind of into the sports world. And so, what was that initial kind of jump from that realm into the kind of the world you're in now?
Actually, I mean, my life has always been as an investor or financier and been involved in all industries globally. I never really had much exposure to sport. And during COVID times, an opportunity came because I had a bit of time on my hands to create a business around paddle because it was something that I was very passionate about, and I've been playing for 20 years. So I'm a real
Wow.
veteran and
Okay.
in paddle, and just the opportunity arose from sort of things aligning up, and um, I thought, okay, I've got a bit of time on my hands, and I'll try and create a business around paddle and sports in general. And I think that the sports industry has become a real business opportunity now, whereas before it was more of a for fans and enthusiasts and people who had more money than sense. This became, for me, recently an asset class that's actually very interesting to invest in, and we're seeing it everywhere. So across all sports. So yeah, I thought time to jump into something new, something that I was passionate about, rather than something that I'd been doing all my life. And here we are.
I love it. And one of the things I saw kind of in leading up to this interview was how VVV Sports is building the infrastructure that you believe is required to kind of have this support with the long-term professional growth in this industry. So what does that infrastructure look like, for day to day or just in that long-term growth mindset?
Yeah, I mean, look, we've chosen two sports to begin with, paddle and pickleball. They're both emerging sports, really. Haven't been around that long in a professional sense. So I saw an opportunity to try and professionalize some of the um, pieces of these sports that was lacking. So professionalism around athletes, professionalism around representation. There was not enough courts being built around Europe, and now that's happening. So the infrastructure side of it is really the courts, the players, the tournaments, everything that gets people involved, the brands, the distribution of brands, getting people to understand the difference between certain brands and certain elements of the sports. And paddle's slightly more advanced than pickleball in Europe. Pickleball is very, very new, and an even bigger opportunity there to perhaps bring the infrastructure into play. And obviously with pickleball, it's a lot cheaper because the courts are relatively easy to set up. So just trying to professionalize, that's the word, I think. Professionalize these sports in countries where they are new, emerging, fast growing, and lots of opportunity, and just to try and give some sort of professional wrap around that, which has been lacking for the beginning of these sports in these countries and jurisdictions.
Right. Well, and from kind of what I've read online and some studies, the U.S. paddle market, speaking of growing, is reportedly up to I think like growing 50% annually. Some crazy numbers like that. And so, how does that play into the role where you're trying to find these different countries or areas of pockets of growth as far as the future?
Yeah, I think that there's lots of interesting places, countries that are growing fast, like the UK, Germany, France, Italy, UAE. But I think the USA will dwarf all of that. So the opportunity for anyone who wants to get into paddle, in my opinion, as a business opportunity, is US based. And we've made a big push towards finding some areas that we'd like to be involved in around venues and distribution of brands, possibly courts. Actually, we had a call today with one of the biggest court manufacturers in the world about doing something in the USA with them. So for me, it's going to be a huge opportunity for people to get involved in that market, because once you get the commercial engine of the US machine behind a sport like pickleball, as we saw, pickleball has been huge there. I think it will get behind paddle soon. It will grow. I went to the big tournament in Miami this year. It's called the P1 Premier Paddle P1, and I was actually surprised how small the event was. I thought it was going to be a much bigger event, and for me, that doubled down on my interest and my understanding and my gamble to want to go fully USA with a lot of what we're proposing to do elsewhere.
Right. Yeah, I'm sure that was kind of it was good to see how small it was because the growth is so much bigger as far as the future and the events and the partnerships that they can be. And what do you think's driving this growth as far as you've been saying you're a veteran, been playing paddle for 20 years. What do you think it's lagged so far behind in the States and elsewhere?
I think the sport didn't really get much notice until COVID, because it was one of the sports that they allowed you to play. So a lot of people saw the opportunity to play this game called paddle and pickleball actually, and it grew from there. So it just suddenly got the attention of a lot of people who were in between racket sports or tennis or squash or other things, and they found a new sport to try, and it just boomed. So, in the UK, even 2, 3 years ago, there was 300 courts here, and now there's I think 2,000. So in a very short space of time, the market has grown, and it's been really viral. So you have there's no one you talk to anymore in any restaurant or bar or anything in London or beyond London who's not talking about paddle. And
Yeah.
everyone's played it, everyone enjoys it. No one ever says they didn't enjoy it. They always go back for more. And it's just really one of these sports that's just the momentum has grown through education, through people seeing this new sport, seeing famous people playing. The US is different. I don't know why that has lagged behind so much. Probably because pickleball took a
Yeah.
very
Good point.
fast, focused lead, but it's catching up fast now. And there's a huge Latin American community up there, and they're obviously very good at this sport. They're Argentina and Spain are the top two countries in the world. So there's no reason why it won't really escalate fast. And we're seeing a lot of clubs being built in the US now, a lot of opportunity there. Projections that people are making are very, very interesting.
Yeah.
That's why we're so excited.
No, yeah, no doubt. And some of those projections too I've seen are lofty, but you never know. I feel like with an untapped market such as these, it's kind of hard to project because, like you said, it's who knows where it could be or where it could go. And one of the aspects I wanted to touch on a little bit is kind of the media side of what you and the team are building. So, is it more like this content driven, viral videos, stories? What's kind of the media side look
So,
like?
we have an in-house social media team who obviously keep the social media channels alive every day with whether it be things about things we're doing, events we're doing, players we're backing or representing. So we have a very dedicated team to do that. But we created a company within the group which is purely focused on production for leading media platforms such as Netflix, Amazon, etc. And we will be launching a show towards the end of the summer, which is highly secretive at the moment. Probably going to be on Amazon Prime, and it'll be around paddle and travel. And we think there's an opportunity to do a number of series of paddle pickleball, sort of almost like Drive to Survive,
Yeah, I
the
was just gonna
F1
say.
thing.
Uh-huh.
So we've nearly finished filming the paddle one. We think the next one will either be paddle two or it'll be pickleball or racket sports. But there's a great interest to see these sort of TV shows, and we've been talking to the major platforms, and we're just finalising a deal now. So by the end of the summer, I think we'll have launched this onto one of the main media platforms and start to create a interesting sort of buzz around these sports because there's a lot of interest.
Yeah, well said. And I think kind of taking a play out of the F1 Drive to Survive playbook, especially for those in the States, is that really, I feel like, drove a lot of the viewership and success for F1. And I'm sure you and the team are something, similar along those lines of where we like the behind the scenes, especially, seeing what it looks like, the day to day. And I think that just goes a long way, especially in today's, you know, sports landscape and building businesses, especially, and showing, the viewers and listeners what things could look like, how it looks like. I think that goes a long way, as you know. And one of the other things I was interested in as I was looking at VVV Sports, you guys have this ecosystem you've built with the media, the brands, the management, but then also kind of this investors type of, is that also baked into the ecosystem you're building with the investors can invest with VVV Sports, or how does that work?
So I come from an investment background, so there's obviously always an element of investment to what I do and looking for opportunities, whether investing in a business, buying a business. We're creating a business here, so it's slightly different. But what we did, what I decided to do last year was build this inside a public company. So this company is listed in London,
Hmm.
and that enables people to be able to invest in the company. So you can go and buy shares on the stock market here. We're probably the only dedicated pure play paddle pickleball company on the stock market today globally.
Hmm.
So if people want exposure to that, whether it's $1,000, $5,000, $500,000, they can invest in the stock market. And we created that environment because we thought that was the right thing to do. Our expansion into the US again will be probably NASDAQ based. We're looking at listing ourselves into NASDAQ and enabling the American market to come and invest. But in terms of the opportunities that we see to invest in companies and in opportunities in the US or abroad, in the UK, Europe, Middle East, whatever, we are always keen because that's where our background, the main people behind this vehicle, we're investors. We've been involved in investing companies, acquiring companies in all sectors for a long period of time. So we offer not only the opportunity to get exposure to these sports as a financial instrument, but we also have the experience to close deals and transact deals and grow businesses. So people get a bit of everything. We're not sports enthusiasts. We are, but we're not only sports enthusiasts. We're
Yeah.
not only investors. We're not only people trying to build a business around emerging sports. We have the whole package.
Right. And that's really one of the things that I've been, as I was doing research for this and talking to you, is kind of the whole package, having a little bit of everything, but then also kind of building the infrastructure and the layers. So kind of, you mentioned the show that's coming out here in the end of the summer. As you guys continue to build and obviously kind of this NASDAQ strategy, what's next for VV Sports? What's kind of, are you building? Are there sort of target markets you're headed at here soon?
I think we just continue to build out the business. It's as you said, it's a platform with certain different divisions or verticals to it, and because it's such an emerging new sports that they don't all quite fit together yet. So we're working out how to plug vertical A and B into C and D, and that's what we're really working on now. So really expanding out the paddle business from we have venues, we have tournaments, we have players, we have brands. The pickleball side, we are trying to make a claim to control pickleball in Europe and beyond, possibly to North Africa and the Middle East, but Europe in particular is the start. We just launched something called Top Series, which is a very significant announcement in the pickleball world, because it enables a European tour to evolve into something similar to the paddle P1 tours. So we're trying to build the ecosystem that we think is the right way to go, and we've created those verticals, and we're trying to just expand those across different geographies and different opportunities, and have a piece of everything that fits together. And the content side and the media side of it, as you mentioned, that's almost like our marketing channel. So we have a channel that says, we've created a really exciting Drive to Survive sort of documentary where you can see behind the scenes, but you can understand what we're trying to create as a company. And that's our showpiece to show the world what we're trying to create with the different verticals and the different opportunities that we see coming. This was a business 3 years ago on a piece of paper that was blank. So, we just, me and a couple of guys sat around a table and said, what do we do? And we didn't know what to do for the first year. And then suddenly we got into it and we've evolved to where we are now. So it's been very fast moving for us as well.
Love it. And kind of talk about that a little bit as you've been, it was a blank piece of paper. And then now what's the day to day look like, as I'm sure you've grown employees wise, expansion wise? What does it look day to day as you're building this out?
like a business, like a startup business which is growing fast. We have probably 20 people involved across the organization. We have different verticals, as I said, with different areas of things happening. We're looking after players, trying to professionalize the players to think like professional athletes, where that was never available before. We're running the biggest tournament in the UK, so we run tournaments, 6 to 7 tournaments a year. Which again need a lot of preparation and organization. We distribute a brand called Ball Paddle in the UK and Ireland and Australia and New Zealand, and we're adding to our geographies there. That's very interesting. Ball Paddle is the leading paddle-only brand in the world, and it's a very exciting business. It's done very well. We've got a massive project in Abu Dhabi where we're building the largest paddle venue in the world with the government. So there's all sorts of things happening. They're all over the place. There's no one central place. We don't have a central office because everyone's all over the place. So we've got people in England, we've got people in Abu Dhabi, we've got people in the US, we've got people in Spain. It's all quite difficult to control, but it's very exciting. So my day to day is sitting on Zoom calls and Teams calls, and then traveling to the places that need the attention and the focus as they come up. And there's so much happening in this industry. I've been involved in the internet. I was involved in lots of things which have been new and fast moving. And at the beginning, there's always so much going on. You're trying to pick the best opportunity, the best path. Paddle and pickleball is the same. There's so much opportunity. You just got to find the right places to start. Make sure you make the right decisions. Fail quickly, but make the right decisions and try and stick behind those decisions. Unless you have to pivot and move to something else, it all feels like very much like a tech startup, to be honest. And I've been involved in a few of those. I was involved in crypto, internet, various other things. So it feels very much like that, having
Yeah.
this very sort of fast moving young group of people, hungry, excited. But the opportunity is huge and endless, and it's exciting for people. So it's fun. No day's the same. They're all different.
Yep, yep. I feel like that's a common theme when building a company, building a startup. Is no day's the same. Every day is something new. You're putting out fires. You're like I said, you're doing a lot, wearing a lot of hats. And in a sport such as pickleball, paddle, etc., how important? And you might have this in the series coming up. But how important is building these stars in kind of these emerging sports to kind of help you drive the sport forward?
Yeah, I think you need the problem with paddle and less so pickleball, because pickleball is much more of a sort of mass market opportunity for lots of people to play, and there's a commercial angle around pickleball that isn't related to the best player or the best tournament. It's the actual ecosystem. In paddle, the problem you have with paddle is no one knows the players. So in tennis, we know Federer, we know Djokovic, we know Sinner, whoever else. In paddle, people struggle to name more than two people, and that's an issue. So I think you need to have certain country stars to become really commercial opportunity, be able to sell merchandise and become household names. Until we have that, it's a problem, because I don't know anyone outside of paddle who can name a player, but people inside paddle, they might be able to name three
Right.
or four. That's it. So a tennis enthusiast can usually name the whole ranking system or the whole whatever. So it's very important that we push forward national champions from each country and start to build brands either around players or around teams. So in the US, they have the Pro Paddle League, which you're probably aware of. That's a team event, and in Europe, they have something called the Hexagon Cup, which is a team event. Those things probably have a lot more traction with the spectator because they back a team, they don't back an individual.
I
So
see. I see.
you could have you could have the Adidas team, you could have the Mercedes team, you could have whatever. And then it becomes a bit more like Formula One, which is quite interesting. You back the team, you don't necessarily back the
The
driver, but
driver. Yep.
ultimately you want to back the team and the driver. So
Yeah.
it's building that awareness. And at the moment, the way paddle operates is each player has his own ranking, has a partner, and they're not that famous. They don't earn that much money yet. So either wrapping teams around them or merchandise around them is an important factor for the sport going forward. And that's what the players, as I understand, want. But it's very important to bring through young kids and national champions that are going to fly the flag for their nationality, their nation. Especially with the Olympics coming, right? The Olympics is going to probably
Oh yeah, good
entertain
point.
paddle in Australia in 32, I think it is. It'll probably entertain paddle there, I expect. And it's important for people to have somebody they can point to who's the paddle champion of wherever, France,
Right.
Spain, whatever.
Well said. And you mentioned the Hexagon Cup, and I know the VVV Sports might have the chance or opportunity or to kind of own one of the, I believe it's 8 teams in this space, obviously. And so, obviously, that's being Paddle's kind of premium team event, kind of in the space with a lot of decorated world players and things like that. And I believe is it Landor Norris is involved with one of the teams or whatnot. So, what's that been that looking like? No trade secrets, of course, but just kind of being a part of that.
No, I think we're keen to be involved in the premier team event in the world, and therefore we are in discussions to get involved or acquire one of the teams. There's 8 teams, as you said. They don't intend to expand at this stage, so there's 8 teams, and we are in discussions, deep in discussions, to acquire one of the teams and bring a group of people, players, business people, and other brands together to create a very, very exciting, interesting team. And we're keen. So that's one of the main focuses for us for the next 6 months of this year, the second half of this year. We would like to be in place to have one of the teams, if we can, for the season next year.
Yeah. And speaking of next year, you and the team are currently obviously ahead of the NASDAQ listing in 27. Currently raising some funds right now. I think it's 7 million and 5 million pounds. Is that is
Yeah,
that is that about right? So is
yeah.
that process ever ongoing? A lot of the listeners and viewers are kind of in the the sports investment space, and so these things are always top of mind. But what kind of does the process look like when you're trying to raise these types of funds?
I spent most of my life raising funds, so I can tell you it's exciting, it's soul destroying, all of the above. And I think the good thing about what we're doing is it's a public vehicle, so people can buy and sell shares. The story is very, very on tune. This is a fundraising into something that's exciting and everyone knows about, and they want exposure to it, whether they want to play or read about it or invest in it. There's a lot going on. This fundraising, we think, will be pretty plain sailing to get it done. We're marketing in the UK and Europe and the US and UAE over the next 3 or 4 weeks. We've had a lot of interest just from the press releases that you've seen and some of the press we've had. Yeah, you never know until it's done, and I've done a lot of fundraisings, but this one feels like something different because of the interesting nature of the underlying assets and the opportunity going forward. So I encourage people to look at it and have a look, and if they're interested, give us a call.
Yeah, yeah, no, and that's kind of part of the play here. We'll kind of get it out there on the socials and spread the word. And for someone listening who wants to build in sports, invest maybe just in sports or in general, or kind of launch a sports company as you have, what's one of the biggest lessons you've learned, kind of so far in this new quote unquote venture?
So I think you have to. I compare the sports industry at the level where I'm investing in and building a business to the mining industry. The
Okay.
mining industry is full of cowboys, full of huge opportunities to make a lot of money and huge opportunities to lose a lot of money. And this is very similar to that because it's an emerging sport. There hasn't been a lot of finance around these sports yet. It's not like soccer, it's not like American football, it's not like baseball. It's emerging sports. So you have to find your way through it very carefully. And I think, what we offer is experience in business. People can look up our credentials and see the people behind us and say, okay, they've done this, that, and the other. They seem to know what they're doing from a business perspective, and betting on us to choose the right opportunities to go forward. And if I was looking and getting involved in a sports business as an investor, I'd immediately look at the people and see what the background was and see what the experience of the team was. And we have a team that's experienced and we've done it before. We bought, sold businesses. We failed, we succeeded, but we have the experience, and we're not people who are just coming out of nowhere to create a business around something we don't understand.
Yeah, I love it. And We've touched on a lot of topics today, but kind of interpersonal stuff as we kind of go on here is what kind of keeps you, your mind sharp. Are you a book reader, podcasts? The listeners, viewers always like to see, what the successful people are doing.
Read a lot. Read anything. Can be newspapers, the internet. Listen to podcasts. You learn so much from reading. Reading gives you a lot of power in business because you have experience and knowledge, and you can use that. So I encourage people to read. I read a lot. I listen to podcasts. I play paddle.
I love it. Yeah, I think kind of when you were explaining a little bit earlier, it's exciting and soul crushing at the same time. I think that's the perfect example of kind of what it's like to be on the front lines and be in business in a startup. And Jonathan, we appreciate you coming on today. And where can the listeners and viewers find VVV Sports? Where can they find you online, press releases, all that good stuff?
Yeah, so we've got our website is vvvsports.pro, pro. We obviously have social media, VVV Sports and R3 Sport. Our paddle brand is R3 Sport, and the company brand is VVV. So just look up VVV Sports online and you'll find us, and come visit. Tell us what we're doing right. Tell us what we're doing wrong. Invest. It should be an exciting ride.
Yeah, and we're looking forward to, and especially with, as you mentioned earlier, the kind of the show coming out in late summer, and then obviously, NASDAQ in 27, the fundraising, the exciting projects, possibly owning a Hexagon Cup team, and a lot of exciting things going on, Jonathan. So we
And
appreciate
much,
you.
much more, and much, much more. There's
I,
loads happening. Too much,
I,
too much to do.
I was going to say I was just tip of the iceberg there. We're just getting started, as you mentioned, only a few years in on this specific project, and so any closing thoughts or anything else you want the listeners and viewers to hear before we go?
No, just come visit us, look at what we're doing, see our approach. There's a lot going on. We look forward to coming to the USA as a company and as a concept. Um, it's going to be huge, and hopefully I'll be living over there next year. So I'll be coming to your shores and spending some time there.
Perfect, awesome. Well, appreciate you, Jonathan, and thanks to listeners and viewers. And this has been another episode of the Constant Sports Podcast, and we'll see you guys next week.